10 Minutes to Joy is your weekly invitation to reset, recharge, and rediscover your most joyful self through aha moments and simple energy techniques. You're listening to holistic psychotherapist Sylvia Plester-Silk. I've worked with individuals, couples, and groups. From parole officer to private practice, I've learned many a lesson, and I'm ready to share. Let's talk about creative pursuits. I was in a program recently and we were doing some meditation around what is the next step to success. And I was surprised when I got that I should return to pottery. Now, I stopped going to pottery a couple of years ago, I guess now. I do enjoy it. And you know what? Honestly, I haven't been back. So, what I want to talk about is the importance of creativity. So, for me, it could be pottery. It could be my paintings that I do. It could be cooking. It could be gardening. It could be working on cars and finding creative solutions, somehow to make them go faster. I don't know. It can be woodworking. It can be anything under the sun. What it is about is something that you get so involved in the moment that you're absolutely present and in a Zen spot for the period of time that you do it. Now, do you always get results after creativity? I've certainly made some mud pies out of pottery. I remember when I trained with Second City in Toronto and we talked about improv was disposable theater. I like that idea. My artwork, my paintings are disposable. If they don't turn out the way that I want them to, that's okay. You know what? You can actually paint over top and do another painting. If you're working with canvas and if you're working with paper, just get another paper. We don't have to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars to be creative. I mean, you can go out and forage for different pine cones and such, stones, painting rocks. There's so many things you can do irrespective of your budget. You can get paints and okay paintbrushes at the Dollarama. So, um, what would you choose to do as a creative pursuit this week? How do you look at your calendar and actually just book 2 to 3 hours for this pursuit this week? Maybe you don't go and be on social media as much. Maybe you take a break from reading the newspapers or the online newspapers, I suppose it really is now, isn't it? Can tell that I don't and haven't read newspapers in some time. My life is better for it. How can you, but it's really about allowing yourself the time to just be creative, to play with color, play with texture in a painting, or to just try something different. If you're not in a mood of doing fine brush strokes, then maybe you splatter paint. Maybe you do a poured painting. There are so many different ways to be creative. It might be writing for you. It could be gardening. So maybe you go out and you start to look at your garden and make a plan for how you're going to move some plants around or how you're going to thin some stuff out. My dog, bless his loving soul, is thinning my garden out for me by running through it and doing his business there. Yes, it's always a work in progress. Because why be creative? And again, I mentioned recently in a podcast that some of us have heard messages that we're not creative, or I know I was told I don't have an imagination when I was a kid, and that's not true. And it wasn't helpful. But it's about being zen in the moment. It's about taking a time out from busy life and having to do and having to accomplish, and to just simply breathe and be in a playful, joyful spot. Not in a, oops, I goofed that up and I painted outside my line, but how can I, oh, okay, that happened. Now what? Now, how might this painting, if you're working on a painting, shift or change because of that stroke? Is it possible that it becomes even more beautiful? If you just play with it, see where it goes. Again, it might be like disposable theater, and at the end of the day, you don't do anything with it. But if you've helped yourself relax, had some fun added to your day, I suppose that's a worthy pursuit, isn't it? We often think that we need to get the work done before we can have creative pursuits. And sometimes we need the creative pursuits in order to be productive. I recently picked up my paintbrush and started doing another painting, and it's not done, but it really is cool to be able to draw some lines and then have something come of it. It simply starts by a dot on my piece of paper and creating circles, and eventually a mandala is born. So some of them are gorgeous and I love them, and some of them aren't. I have had compliments on them, by the way. So sometimes we are our own worst critic when it comes to our creativity. I encourage you to be creative. Maybe it's thinking about you want to do something, rearrange your furniture. That's another form of creativity. Maybe you want to change up a wall in a painting, the color of paint on the wall. And maybe it's simply going to the store and getting different colors that you think you might like on that wall and putting them up and reflecting on them. Maybe it's cooking something different for tonight. Maybe it's from a recipe and maybe it's not. I remember Chef Michael Smith out of I hope I have his name right, out of PEI, and he had this program that talked about how to cook and what flavors went with what flavors, and it was incredibly helpful for me because it got me away from having to have a recipe and following the recipe completely. That's another creative pursuit. So it's really about looking at things from a not having to produce, not having to get it right. There's not only one way to create art or to create a mandala, there's billions of ways. And finding the way that gives you pleasure, that relaxes you, and helps you come out the other end of the experience more relaxed and ready to take on whatever is happening in your life at that moment. So today, I invite you to mark that time off in your calendar for a creative pursuit. And when that time arrives, ask yourself what you want to do. And then take action. And just do it just simply for the sake of doing it and the benefit to your mental health. Do it with that kid's playfulness, child's playfulness, where it's just fun and it doesn't matter the outcome. There's no right or wrong. So take the rules out of it and simply be creative for the joy of creativity. We've shared another 10 minutes of growth together. Remember, joy is a practice, not a destination. Keep moving forward, and I'll be right here with you next Friday.